Alabama first and 10 on the 12. Again, Houston. He's got a hole. He's over. Alabama touchdown.
I'm just wondering if your listeners know how good a football player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we came to summer and you were playing fullback up there, and I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. If you could pick up, you were strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to take you, and our running back coach didn't take you. Biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Good morning. Welcome into the Martin Houston Show on this Wednesday Hump Day edition of the program. We have a Would You Rather Wednesday program scheduled for you. Got a couple questions we want to talk about. It's the Sound of Bama Sports, your show, your team. Get in on the conversation and support us at Alabama Sports and the Martin Houston Show on Facebook. We'd love to have you join the conversation. You can always add your thoughts, your comments, your questions there. Or you can always call us on the Alabama One hotline at 205-342-9904, 205-342-9904. That's the Alabama One hotline. Excuse me. And as we move forward today in the conversation, I want to invite you to get in on this Would You Rather Wednesday, circling back on a question from last week when we looked at if you only had one choice, if you only had that one choice and you could only watch football or basketball, and you can't listen to it on the radio, no Chris Stewart or any of that, and you can only choose one, which one would it be? So that was already on the list. I also, because it's Olympic time, it's amazing. The Olympics when I was growing up was such a big deal. So much more talk and conversation around it that when it came Olympic time, man, we were all around the TV watching the Olympics and watching the Olympic trials and watching people compete. And you knew who the upcoming, superstars were. Now, not so much. Not so much. And so I had just a would you rather, if you could only watch one event live, would you take a trip to the Olympics or would you take the national championship game? You have to choose this year, Olympics or national championship game. Which one would it be? So, and then, of course, we've had this one on the book for a while, and we just keep it as a running topic, but we've not addressed it yet. Buy, sell, hold. Probably need to give it its own day, but we'll talk about that as well. And then we'll wrap up today's program. It is a Wednesday edition with Scotty Hollins, Executive Director, Blueprint Ministries, the Harvest Church Christian Moment of the Week. We'll round things out today. Remember that this is a day that the Lord has made, so let's rejoice and be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. Good morning, X. How you doing, sir?
Good morning. Doing well. How are you?
Doing well. All right. Let's see what Alan has before we get into the conversation. For you and Justin, I'm going to start with the Olympic question. So, Alan, you're in on the Alabama One hotline. What's on your mind, sir?
Yeah,
first of all, Martin, yeah, the Olympics is not what it used to be. You remember when we were growing up, they had a commercial that was going on. I think it was two shot guys that were doing the shot put, Dave and Dave, and they thought both of them were gonna make it, and one of them actually made, and the other one didn't.
Mhm.
It's been I forget the other one's name. I think one of them name was Dave O'Brien, and I
That-
forget the other one's name, but both of
that-
them supposed to make it, but one of them made it.
Yeah, they were like triathlon. They were the triathlon guys or
Was
something.
it?
Was
Yeah,
it
it
the,
was something.
the
I
hip?
can't
It was
remember.
they had multiple events, and yeah,
Yeah,
shocker.
yeah. Yeah, that was a shocker. And they lost me. I guess they lost a lot of money on that.
Yeah.
And my question is this: I'm gonna put you in X on the spot right here. I didn't text it to you, so I'm gonna want y'all to answer it right here. Okay, who would y'all consider the biggest? I ain't gonna say bust because once you go to college and you graduate, so everybody can't make the NFL, so you can't consider them bust. If they graduated, they're not a bust. But what got underachieved at Alabama? Y'all think underachieved under Nick Saban era more than anybody? Not don't count the ones that got hurt because you get hurt, that just happens, and that you can't count them underachieved. But who was the most you think overrated or didn't achieve what they supposed to come out of high school? I got my opinion. I want to see what y'all say.
X, I'll let you go first.
That underachieved at Alabama or at the pro level?
Under Nick Saban's era, they
Yeah.
came out of high school.
What I'm saying is,
Oh,
he's saying, are you saying that coming out of high school to Alabama or from
Yes.
just overall?
Yes. Yes. No, just come out of school to Alabama, didn't get to play, didn't do what they supposed to do.
Ooh.
My pro one was Trent Richardson.
I
But
know,
since
too.
we're just gonna, but if we're going college, Ben Davis. Ben Davis out of Gordo High School.
That's fine too.
He was a legacy, and not only was he a legacy, he was a top 5 player, top 10 player in the country, and just
high rated
could
5-star.
never put it on. Yeah, but he was a bona fide 5-star, and just never lived up to the hype. So it'd probably be Ben Davis is the first one that pops in my head. Ben Davis, or maybe Blake Barnett, one of those. Ben Davis or Blake Barnett.
Oh, that's good.
So I'll give you one: offense, defense. Blake Barnett offense, Ben Davis defense.
So yeah, but Ben Davis is mine also.
Yeah, Ben Davis would have to be up there. I probably need a little time to do some more research because I'm sure there were some guys that came in, throw a name from the past that ended up he left Alabama, but the hype around him was unbelievable. And if he was coming out in today's culture, he'd be just talked about unbelievably. And that's Philip Sims.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about him. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you know, like you start thinking. That's what I'm saying is Ben Davis kind of jumps out at you, especially since he's local and he was so highly rated. But remember when Philip Sims came here, man, he was supposed to be the man. And him and AJ. Ooh, you know, Ryan Fowler's been doing this what if conversation. That would have been a great what if. What if Philip Sims had beat out AJ McCarron? Everybody forgets that battle. Wow. I'm gonna have to tell Ryan he's gonna have to have that conversation because remember they went up to Penn State?
Yep.
And, yeah. Go ahead, X. X, were you about to say something?
That battle went 2 or 3 games deep into the season.
Yep. And that kind of started the Saban way of choosing quarterbacks. I guess from the beginning he would refuse to name somebody. And he ended his career the same way. But once again, he still anyway. I ain't gonna get into Saban. Curtis Moore II threw out a name, Tony Mitchell. And Tony may end up, because Tony has now left, and now he's at East Mississippi Community College. So he was a highly rated guy, and you have to look at him from the standpoint. Phillip didn't make it because there were great guys in front of him. I mean, his competition, and then he left. You look at even Ben Davis, there were some good linebackers in front of him as well. It wasn't like he was behind slouches. Tony Mitchell was in a position where he was getting beat out by younger guys. He had every opportunity to win it. So, Alan, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just some of these guys. I mean, they look at their what they did in high school, and they think that they can just come down. College is going to be the same way, and they don't put it. Just to me now, I'm not there, so I can't say for sure. They just don't put in the work.
Absolutely.
I mean, you got to put in the work when you get there, and you can't live on what you did in high school, because everybody there is looking for a position. Everybody there looking to go to the next level, and you got to put in the work, and you got to go to class too. A lot of these guys don't want to go to class. That's a major part of it. They don't.
Hey,
want to
listen, Jed Cohen just threw in one. The Brockermeyer twins.
Yes, true.
One, the highest rated one never did anything here, and then transferred and didn't do anything there, and now he's out of football. So that's pretty good. Pretty good. Alan, you got anything else before I let you go? Good conversation.
Just rest in peace to the Say Hey Kid, and one more thing. When he went to the Hall of Fame, he only got 95% of the vote. And who was the other 5% of people that didn't vote for him? They should have their credentials taken away from them as being ever to ever vote anybody for the Hall of Fame of baseball.
And that speaks to the topic we talked about yesterday, Alan. I can't get into it, but I talked about the arrogance when you were talking about that. That's right there. That right there speaks to it. Any of these guys, like no one deserves to be a first-time Hall of Fame ballot. What? If they're that good, they do deserve it. And who would have voted, and who could in their right mind, without any bias, racist, or just arrogance, say Willie Mays shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame? But if you take 100 voters, 5 of them said he didn't. It wasn't one. It was multiple people who said this guy's not good enough to be in the Hall of Fame. You're right. They should.
24-time All-Star.
Yeah,
crazy.
Yeah. After serving a couple of years before he got to the league, our nation. So, so that's right. Thanks for bringing him up. We appreciate that. We appreciate the question, and you bringing up Willie Mays, who passed on yesterday. One of the greatest players ever, and one of the most iconic plays ever. Right now, if anybody catches the ball over their head to this day, they refer back to that catch that he made many moons ago. Thanks, Alan. We'll be back on the other side to keep the conversation going. I guess X is kind of a wild card, Would You Rather Wednesday, with Alan's question of which one of Saban's players was the biggest bust. We have our thoughts, and you're welcome to comment on that, or you can call in and get in on the conversation on the Would You Rather question as well. We'll be back in just a moment to keep the conversation rolling.
Coming up on The Game with Ryan Fowler.
Coming up on the Wednesday edition of The Game, we're going to feature Josh from collegefootballnerds.com. We're going to talk about some analytics involving the game of college football. We'll also feature Aaron Torres, Fox Sports national analyst, and a lot more starting at 2 p.m. here on The Game on Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
The longest running sports program in Tuscaloosa. The Game with Ryan Fowler. Weekdays Weekdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
365, 24/7. You'll find road and utility crews, tow trucks, law enforcement, and first responders working along Alabama's roadway.
We're making improvements and helping our communities stay connected.
We're working hard to make sure you're safe on the road. Now we need your help to make sure we're safe too.
Alabama's move over law requires you to move over a lane when you see flashing lights on the roadside. And if you can't safely move over, please slow down.
Visit drivesafealabama.org. Brought to you by the Alabama Department of Transportation, Alabama Broadcasters Association, and this station.
Hey, John, why so glum?
I just got let go. The company's downsizing. This is the third time in the last 2 years. I'm done with this.
Have you thought about My Computer Career? I've heard they can train you for a career in IT in just a few months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI. And you don't need prior training or experience. Now that's a recession-resistant career.
Wow, thanks. I'll check them out.
Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. mycomputercareer.edu. Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
Go inside the Alabama Crimson Tide with the Gary Harris Show.
Hey, everybody, it's Gary Harris. Wednesday, it's the Hump Day edition of the Gary Harris Show at 9 a.m. Matt Coulter will join me to talk NASCAR, and Cleet Browder, the director of tennis at North River Yacht Club, will join me to talk about a very special tennis event that they're hosting over at North River that they do every year. We'll have that plus your phone calls on the Gary Harris Show at 9 a.m.
Catch the Gary Harris Show Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. on Tide 100.9 and Tide100.9.com.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Another day of high clouds, partial sunshine today. It's going to be warm with a high of 90. Tonight, partly cloudy and pleasant, the low by morning 71. Tomorrow is the first day of summer. More sunshine, warmer with a high of 92. I'm meteorologist Bill Murray on Tide 100.9.
It's 74 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Welcome back to the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team, on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back in to the Martin Houston Show. Don't forget about Billy's Cooking Restaurant, Billy's Cooking LLC on Facebook. You can find them there or call 205-632-8617. Also, you can use DoorDash to place the order there. Really quick, Justin, you got anybody you want to throw into that conversation as the least underachieving?
Probably. I'm awful with names, Martin, and truthfully, nothing is coming to mind right now.
Me too. I'm the same way. I had to. That's why I said I probably need to have some time to research. What was the running back's name? Trey Sanders, I think, was mentioned by Curtis Moore II. He said he was going to win the Heisman, maybe
but
two.
Trey had injuries.
I know, but I'm just saying Trey, it's his words that put him in that category. Remember, he said he was going to come up here, win a Heisman, win a couple of Heismans, and before his injury, he had started off behind the 8 ball because of his words, not necessarily what happened. Then he had the wreck. So I was just saying that's what he was saying. He said saying he was going to make the Heisman, but he got in a bad car accident. So he did point that out. Quick sidebar, Xavier. Most people don't realize just how big a deal Alabama baseball, the state of Alabama was in baseball. Listen to
Alabama has some legends.
Yeah, Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, and Satchel Paige. Satchel Paige was 42 years old when they finally broke the barrier and allowed him to debut with the Cleveland Indians, and he still was a dominant pitcher at 42. So if Satchel Paige had got to play in his prime in regular baseball, he probably would have set records that wouldn't have been touched as much as the home run record. That's how dominant of a pitcher and player he was. But all of those guys, and it's more, were from the state of Alabama. So Mobile was Hank Aaron in they call it Westerfield, I think is what they call it, but it's right outside of Fairfield is where Willie Mays was from. So we salute Willie Mays and his awesome baseball career this morning. So free-for-all Wild Card Wednesday. And we got Bryce on the phones. Thanks for holding, Bryce. You're in with Martin and Xavier on the Alabama One hotline. What's on your mind, sir?
First of all, my heart goes out to Willie Mays and his family. He was one of the greatest. In the last 3 weeks, Martin, we've lost some great athletes.
Mm-hmm.
Jerry West,
Mm-hmm.
Bill Walton. I don't know if I ever remember losing these kind of athletes back to back like that.
That's three pretty good
There's a fourth.
Who is that?
Fourth. Larry Allen.
He's just younger, but yeah, Larry Allen. I don't know if you know, Bryce. He was the
What about Larry Allen?
Yeah, he's a younger guy. He's I think 53. He's a year younger than I am. The other guys were like older and legendary in terms of what they did and post career and things like that. So, but yeah, another great player in his own right as well.
Larry Allen's got 3 Super Bowl rings.
That's right. No, I'm not knocking his stature. All those guys were like Willie's in his 90s. Jerry was probably in his 80s, and Walton was pushing 70s. Yeah, I mean in the 70s, I think. So that's the only comparison I was making. So, but
I got you.
Yeah, not in what he accomplished, but just how much younger he was.
Was the guy, the running back, Jimmy Johns, was he in the Saban era?
Was he both? I think he was. He was here before. He would have been both. He was here before Saban.
He would have been both. He played his freshman through junior year up under Shula, and then his senior year they moved him to linebacker, and he got in trouble right before the season started.
All I remember, we're playing Tennessee, Martin, and we're driving, and I bet a Tennessee guy, he wouldn't bet no money. I bet him a shaved haircut bet. And Jimmy John fumbles the ball. That's why I never forget him. And we lose to Tennessee, and I got to get my head shaved. I'm a true Alabama fan, Martin.
Did you do it?
I did. I'm from Alabama. If your word ain't good, you got nothing.
That's
know
right.
that.
That's right. Well, Bryce, I'll tell you, I have a similar Tennessee shaved head story, not from a bet. My senior year, we were now I was one of these hair guys. I love my hair, man. I mean, I was like, I did all of the different things. I got the high top and the eraser head, and I did everything, right? But I love my hair. But we all, not all, several of us said we're going to go shave our heads, okay, for the Tennessee game my senior year. Now, I'm married, so I'm not at the dorm, right? I go home and shave my head. I'm talking about clean. And I get back to the bus stop. I'm the only one with the shaved head, Bryce. All other guys said they were going to. But guess what, Bryce? It changed my attitude, man. I became nasty after that. So I wore a bald head the rest of my senior year. And it started with the Tennessee game, and I played my best football. Maybe I should have had a bald head the whole time. I may have made all SEC, all American. Who knows?
Well, I was at work when I got mine done. I was in the car business a long time. One of the guys did it at work right after the game. Because, hey, like I said, if you ain't got your words, you got nothing. I was always taught that. My dad always taught that. The word ain't good, you ain't got nothing.
Hey, Bryce, let me ask you: football, basketball. You can only watch one of them. What would you do? You can't watch or listen to either one. And this year you have Kalen DeBoer and the excitement of post Saban, but you also have Nate Oates in basketball and a possible national championship run. But you can only watch and or listen to one of them, and you have to listen to old people like me repeat what happened. Which one you choosing?
Well, I'd have to choose basketball because I've watched quite a few national championship Alabama games, football. So I'd have to say basketball on that one because, hey, them are very rare.
Yeah. What about
we've been real lucky with national championships, which are rare too, but we've been pretty blessed.
Yeah, and what about the Olympics versus a national championship football game if you could go to it live?
Well, the Olympics only come around ever so often, so I'd have to pick the Olympics. I've watched my share of national football championship because I was in the Bear Bryant and the Saban era, so I'm about 10 years older than you.
Okay, now Bryce,
so
where are you from?
I've been blessed.
Where are you from?
I'm from Tuscumbia.
Okay. Deschler?
No, Copper Heights out on the mountain. In 1976, we beat Montevallo for the 2A state championship basketball.
Okay. But it in Deschler High School in Tuscumbia County?
It is.
Okay,
I have a lot of friends in Deschler.
The reason I have the Deschler thing, Bryce, is that's who ended my high school career. That was my last high school game was against Deschler. So I always.
I'm trying to remember.
Cherokee County, 1980.
Oh, yeah.
87.
Yeah.
They had Matt Bratton, unbelievable talent. He and I were players of the year in 4A. So he got it as a running back,
Matt Bratton,
as a linebacker.
I went to school with his sister.
Okay. That dude was super uber talented. I mean, unbelievable. And thanks, Bryce. Hey, call back anytime, man. Appreciate you joining the show.
One thing. I would say Jimmy John would have to be the biggest bust, and Ben Penny would have to be right in there with him.
Who?
From Little Rock. After Ben Penny. That has to be the biggest two busts.
Yeah, we may have to pick this up, X. Thanks, Bryce. Appreciate it. X, I don't think we're gonna get to the would you rather. We just gonna have to I think we may have to run with this what if who's the biggest bust or whatever. That's why I love doing this show, X, is that this show isn't about me and you. It's about our listeners and our callers and our viewers having the ability, if they want to talk about it, they want to create conversation. They have the open lines at 205-342-9904. Or they have the chat lines, and they can bring the topic to the table at Alabama Sports and the Martin Houston Show. We'll be back on the other side. Pat, I think, wants to talk about this same topic of which player in the Saban era is the biggest bust, so we'll let him do that. If you want to comment on who you think your biggest bust is, you're welcome to do that as well. We'll be back in just a moment right here on the Alabama One hotline. It's open for business. This is the Martin Houston Show.
Hey, Jen, I just stopped in to say hello. Oh my gosh, look how busy it is in here. How did you get all these customers?
Yeah, this month has been a record breaker for us. For a long time, we had decent business coming in from word of mouth, but we weren't really growing. Lately, though, a lot of new folks have been finding us online, and that's made all the difference.
That's terrific. I wish I could figure out how to do that for my shop, but I have no idea where to start.
Just do what I did. It's not as hard as you think. Go to mylocalcustomers.com to see exactly how many searches there are here for businesses like yours.
Okay, then what?
If you see that there are a good number of clients searching in our area, you'll also get some suggestions for the best way to get their attention.
Do you think there are a lot of people searching for my business?
There's only one way to find out. Go to mylocalcustomers.com. It's quick, easy, and free.
Go to mylocalcustomers.com for a free local customer analysis that will show you how many Tuscaloosa customers are searching online for your type of business. It's quick, easy, and free. Visit mylocalcustomers.com. That's mylocalcustomers.com.
Weekday mornings at 6 a.m. The Martin Houston Show.
Join the Martin Houston Show for a Thursday edition of the program. We'll be taking your phone calls at 205-342-9904. That's the Alabama One hotline. We'll talk roster management, recruiting, and a whole lot more. Looking forward to talking with you right here on your home for Alabama Sports, Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC.
Catch the Martin Houston Show from 6 to 7 weekday mornings on Tide 100.9.
80 million listeners depend on AM radio to always be on, delivering news, sports, talk, traffic, and weather reports you can trust. AM radio also delivers vital emergency information when you need it most. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress to pass the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act to keep AM radio in cars.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to stop.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
It's time for the Martin Houston Show. With the same hard-hitting, no-nonsense approach in which he played the game, Martin will take you inside the locker room, down on the field, and across the goal line with his in-depth analysis.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. Go to alabama1.org, alabama1.org. If you look up there, when you first land on the homepage, it says, what's your one? We don't want to know what's that one thing. Is it a new car? Is it a home? Is it a farm? Is it equipment? Is it opening a business, saving for retirement, paying down debt? It doesn't matter. Whatever your next goal is, we're ready to help you reach it. And we can do that right now in the vehicle through our flexible terms to lower your payment. We'll give you longer terms to get that payment into a place that you can afford, whether it's a auto, boat, RV, tractor equipment, ATV, etc. Drive the one you want this summer. Go to alabama1.org. You can apply online or stop by one of our branch locations, and we'll be glad to help you. And if you happen to be in the market, I'm telling you, some of you out there right now are listening. You have some money that you have to move out of your retirement account, but you want to have some flexibility. You need to try our Ascend Fund, 4% interest, 6 withdrawals a month, and no early withdrawal penalty. One of the best accounts going if you're in that retirement age, but you need some flexibility with your cash, but you still want it to grow. That's the Ascend Fund or longer terms, lower payments. Either one you can find at alabama1.org, Alabama one together. All right. X, we got some callers. We have Pat. QD in Phoenix City on the app. They got some people responding on the apps. QD in Phoenix City saying Star Jackson. We have CJ Watson on Facebook saying Star Jackson. And Star Jackson was in the Saban era, right? Yeah, that was his first guy, right?
First quarterback.
Yeah. He CJ was thinking he was not, but he was in the Saban era. Then Mike in Benton, Arkansas, on the app said Jimmy Johns. Let me see if we had anybody else on that. Then we got a couple callers, Pat, Joey, and Philip, all wanting to talk about it as well. So, and X, another question we may get to. People seem to be responding to the bald head thing. You know, several people saying they're bald head. Maybe we need to figure out who's your favorite bald headed athlete. Maybe somewhere down the road. But anyway, just love. Like I said, love this show. Love you guys. Thanks to all the caller, listeners, viewers, and chatters been a part of the show. With that said, Pat, you're in with Martin and Xavier on the Alabama One hotline. What's on your mind, sir?
What you come up with? Who did you come up with, Martin, is your favorite that as far as bus goes? I got to say Ben Davis. Go ahead.
I said Phillip Sims. Ben Davis had already been taken. Xavier had said Blake Barnett, and I said Phillip Sims could be one.
Alfano definitely.
Ooh.
Who?
Antonio Alfano.
Oh,
defensive lineman.
He was the number one player, wasn't he?
One player overall.
Yeah, him and what was the other? It was two of them at the same time. The other linebacker. It was back-to-back years.
Anoma. Your boy Anoma.
Yeah, those two guys.
Both of them. Saban's only missed on about a half a dozen total players, those 5 stars. That really bad ones. But
here's the interesting thing: all the ones we're naming, for the most part, that were just flat out bust, have been defensive guys. Like I said, Phillip Sims because they had taken Ben Davis, but I took Phillip Sims, but Phillip Sims was because he ended up leaving and he got beat out by A.J. McCarron. I think he would have been a good player. He just didn't win the job and then left.
So back Scott out of Mobile, was he in Saban era, or was he just before? Huh?
B.J. Scott?
Yeah, B.J.
He was a part of that 08 class.
Yeah, he was.
That's what I thought. That one was ridiculous because he was highly touted.
He was supposed to be the defensive version of Julio coming in that year.
Yep. You're absolutely right. So it is, and you miss. But quarterbacks, was it Cornwall or Cornwell that came to Alabama? I think he was a 5-star. Cornwell. That's it. That hurt my feelings too.
You can take that whole little crew right there, though. Well, we had Cornwell, Cooper Bateman, Barnett. All of them were here at the same time, and they got beat out by a freshman who came here to say that he wanted to learn how to play quarterback. A kid named Jalen Hurts. He was the lowest rated of all of those guys.
In defense of Coach Saban, hey, quarterbacks are what the people that get paid major bucks to pick them in the NFL miss on.
Yeah,
so in all defense of Coach Saban.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I think the NFL is still blind and stupid when it comes to quarterbacks. I mean, how do you pick the kid? How do you pick the kid out of Michigan over some of these other quarterbacks that they picked him over? Same thing. What was the kid from North Carolina that had one good year a couple years ago? And they passed on guys like
Trubisky.
Deshaun Jackson and Deshaun
Watson and Patrick. Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes were both drafted after Mitch Trubisky.
Let that sink in, Pat. That tells you that I ain't gonna say what it speaks to. I'm gonna just pass on that. All right. Thanks, Pat. The NFL is stupid when it comes to that. Saban would have a bunch of guys and let it work itself out. But Pat, I think that Saban kind of maybe hurt some of his quarterbacks with the way he did things. Quarterbacks are big time players, and some have strong egos, some have very fragile. And if you just name them the man X, they're ready to go. But if you don't, in their confidence, if they're always looking over their shoulder, we were very fortunate. I'm going to tell you, 3 of our last, I don't know Mac Jones's parents or anything, but I would put him in this category as well. But you look at Jalen Hurts, we better thank the good Lord X, he had good parents.
Yep.
I mean he had a faith background. Tua Tagovailoa, his parent. Mac Jones, since he stayed and came here when those two were already here, probably so. Bryce Young. And think about Jalen Milroe last year when he came to his parents and they said, what you gonna do? You gonna let him take your job, or you gonna go back and fight for it and be a good teammate? I mean, all of those could have turned bad had they had parents who blame the coach or blame someone else. So, yeah, that's a sidebar. Let's go back to the phone lines. X, we got Joey. You're in with Xavier Martin on the Alabama One hotline. What you got for us?
Yeah, I got a name. He's closer to your era.
Uh-oh.
Forgive me. And I think he's the biggest bust of all. Joe King. He was a massive lineman when they weren't all massive.
Yeah, that's an understatement. Have you ever heard Joey? Have you ever heard the story when Joe King fell out of the third-story window?
No, I never heard that one.
Yeah. He was climbing back into his room he was sneaking out of his room through some bed sheets, and he was halfway between the third floor and the second floor, and the sheets ripped, and he fell all the way to the ground and hit his back. And of course, his roommate thought he was dead. And the story goes, he goes, "You coming?" I played against Joe in high school. Joe was 6'7". He was 6'7", 325 pounds, and he had about a 38, 40-inch waist. There's not been another football player built like him that I've ever seen. You take Caden Proctor X and make him be built like Will Anderson. That's what Joe King looked like.
But once again, was he your age, Martin?
He was a couple years older. Yeah.
Okay. But he was my biggest bust of all. As soon as they said it, that name popped in my head. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. X, any comments on that? I mean, he went outside of the Saban era, but any comments on that before we get to the next caller? All
right. I've heard stories about Joe King from you. So would you put, just to your era again, would you put Danny Woodson in that category?
Yeah. Danny Woodson would be a 2-time Heisman Trophy winner in today's game. That's how talented. He was 6'4". He was Vince Young before Vince Young. He just couldn't keep it between the lines and stay out of trouble on the field. If we were going back era, he'd be one of the guys that's most disappointing. So let's get to Philip X and let you respond here. Philip, you're in on the Alabama One hotline with Xavier and Martin. What's on your mind, sir?
Yeah, Martin, talking about this topic you're on right now. I think this kid left Alabama and went on to play at Duke and had some pretty good stats at Duke. So he could play. He could play. He just didn't make it at Alabama. That's Billy Ray.
Yep. I know. I knew Billy Ray from high school. He was you know who his coach was at Duke, right?
Spurrier.
That's right. I mean, Billy Ray went there, and he was one of the top recruits. And that's the name, Xavier. You ever heard that name before?
Never heard it.
He was from Dunwoody, Georgia. So really, really good kid. He went, like I said, he went up to Duke, and he kind of helped Spurrier cut his teeth on that, was it run and shoot, fun and gun, whatever, Spurrier.
Fun and gun. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he was one of the first ones to do it at a pretty high level. So that's a pretty good one.
Yeah, Billy Ray, he had the hype surrounding Ray was just absolutely incredible. Yeah. Absolutely incredible. And he was a good athlete. Like I say, he did good at Duke, but he didn't do well at Alabama. And he was in there with Jeff Dunn and Hollingsworth and those guys. And Hollingsworth ended up being the better of the quarterbacks.
Yeah, that was a 3-quarterback class. Dunn, Hollingsworth, and Billy Ray. Least rated guy was Hollingsworth. Hollingsworth hit it right because Homer Smith showed up. And Homer Smith had a very cerebral, not saying the other guys were dumb, but Gary Hollingsworth was like a coach on the field, man. He knew you just couldn't beat him. You just couldn't outsmart him. So
That is before I go. Ajay Hall is the overall winner in the most busts, in the biggest bust.
Oh wow! I can't believe didn't even think about him.
That's
And on that, I'll drop my mic.
I mean, this is a conversation that really probably needs more than one day. So we may pick it back up tomorrow. But it made me think, X, if we're talking about the biggest bust, who's the biggest overachiever? Let that sink in.
Biggest overachiever?
Yeah. Which guy in the Saban era came in and left here with the highest career in the Saban era? I mean, you can pick any era. That's what kind of happened as we went through the conversation. But yeah, let that.
I mean, I think it's. I think there's.
Don't give you juice. Hold your water. Let them think on it. Don't give anybody any ideas. We might pick that up tomorrow. So soon we'll be talking a little roster management with you. You got anything before I let you go? You can't answer that question, X. That's one of those future questions.
No, just real quick. Actually, as we were talking about him, I Googled Billy Ray, and they have a list of the top 30 notable quarterback transfers throughout the years, and it goes back to the mid 70s. And Billy Ray is number 5 on that list.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. He was the Shane Matthews and Deans and Werfel before they were. Yep. He was one of the dudes, man. He was good. He just, like I said, he just never played here. So, but he was good. So, all right. We'll be back on the other side. We'll add Scotty Hollins to the conversation. We'll keep this conversation rolling over to tomorrow. You're welcome to always get in on it, 205-342-9904, or on Facebook at Alabama Sports and the Martin Houston Show. Follow us, like us, share us with family and friends, and then you can get in on it as well.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good Wednesday morning. One of Alabama's greatest has died. Willie Mays, a Giants legend, and one of baseball's best, was 93. The center fielder was baseball's oldest living Hall of Famer. His over-the-shoulder catch on a long drive in the 1954 World Series, one of baseball's most celebrated defensive feats. The Westfield, Alabama native played 1 year with the Birmingham Black Barons before beginning his legendary Major League Baseball career. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
Did you know that 90% of the lawyers you see or hear advertised aren't even in Alabama?
Just think about that. I used this guy, Stephen Mesrano, twice because he did what no other lawyers could do. He won for me, and he can win for you. Mez wins.
Thanks, guys. I'm attorney Stephen Mesrano, and I win. Call me, 205-800-8000, and let me fight for you. And when you call, you'll actually talk to me. 205-800-8000. I've got this.
No representations made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. An important message about your timeshare from Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group.
If you receive an unsolicited phone call or mail piece to discuss selling, renting, or especially canceling your timeshare, don't fall for it. Contact your timeshare resort or Wesley Financial Group for assistance, and I'll send you our timeshare exit information kit free with the straight facts about timeshare cancellation.
Call 800-979-1441. 800-979-1441.
4th of July appliance savings are happening now at the Home Depot. Save up to $2,400 on select kitchen packages from brands like LG, America's most reliable line of appliances. Get the LG French door refrigerator with craft ice to keep your summer cool. Or upgrade to the LG Smart Top Load Washer with AI that selects optimal wash motions and settings. Get up to $2,400 off select kitchen packages at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Pricing valid June 19th through July 10th, U.S. only. See store online for details. America's most reliable line of appliances per independent study.
The sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team. The Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. It's a Wednesday edition of the program, which means it's time for us to bring in Scotty Hollins, Executive Director of Blueprint Ministries. And we'll get to him in just a moment. I want to remind you that on tomorrow, we'll keep some of this conversation rolling. Biggest bust, maybe a most overachieving player. We can talk about that on tomorrow. And we'll definitely have some roster management / recruiting news. And the phone lines are always open for you to talk about. But right now, I toss it to Scotty Hollins, Executive Director, Blueprint Ministries, as he continues his series right here on the Harvest Church Christian Moment of the Week, a friend who can love like Jesus. Take it away, sir.
Absolutely. So we want to continue that series, and just to, give us just a picture of what that looks like to love like Jesus. It's John 15:13. Greater love has no one than this, that you lay down your life for your friend. And essentially what we're saying is what Jesus did for us, the way he loved us and the way he loves us is he did what was best for us, no matter what it cost him. We needed a savior. He gave us his best. He died on the cross for our sins. It cost him his life. But guess what? He gave us his best and lived a perfect life. And so as a result, all those who place their faith in him will be forgiven because of Jesus living that perfect life. You know what I mean? And dying on the cross. So I want to make sure that that's clear, that that's what we're talking about. The fact that he did what was best for us, which was dying on the cross, and it cost him his life. So we've been looking at examples of that. We looked at Ruth. We've looked at a couple of other examples. And today I'm going to look at a different example, Martin, the one that maybe we wouldn't, consider, but it is absolutely a picture of a friend who does what's best for the person he's loving, no matter what it costs him. I want to look at Galatians today and look at a story, a message about Peter being confronted by Paul. And sometimes we don't think of confrontation as love, but when you hear this story, I think you'll see it that way. And so, long story short, Peter. Let me just read a quick verse. It says, "Now when Peter had," this is Galatians 2:11 through 13. "Now when Peter had come to Antioch, I withstood him to his face, because he was to be blamed. For before certain men came from James, he would eat with the Gentiles. But when they came, he withdrew and separated himself, fearing those who were of the circumcision. And the rest of the Jews also played the hypocrite with him, so that even Barnabas was carried away with their hypocrisy." Verse 14. I'll read one more verse. But when I saw that they were not straightforward about the truth of the gospel, I said to Peter before them all, he confronted them in front of everybody, man. He says, "If you, being a Jew, live in the manner of Gentiles and not as Jews, why do you compel Gentiles to live as Jews?" And I'll stop there. And so here's what's happening. Peter kind of gave into some peer pressure. He felt like if he sat with a certain group of people, the Gentiles, that certain other people would look down on him and they would think less of him. Although he knew that the gospel was for everyone, was for the Jew and for the Gentile. And so before the certain group of people came, he would sit with everybody and sit with the Gentiles and whoever. But then when a certain group of people came, he stopped sitting with the Gentiles. And Paul's like, "Man, I see what you're doing. I see what you're up to, Peter." And Paul ultimately is saying Peter didn't just do it. He knew what he was up to. He knew what he was doing. Now, here's why I'll say this. Paul confronted him. And it says, in this passage, it says he confronted him to his face. Here's why I give this as an example of, loving like Jesus, or doing what's best for the person that you're loving, no matter what it costs you. Think about think about how difficult accountability is. Think about how difficult confrontation is. But let me say this. But think about how valuable accountability is, and how valuable confrontation is within a team setting, within a work setting, within a family setting, within a church setting. When it needs to be done, it is so valuable. But yet, so few people do it. You want to know why? Because we think, Martin, if I do this, how are they going to look at me? Yeah. If I do this, if I say this, how will it impact me? How will it affect me? And I'm just being honest. Like, it's hard. I mean, and I'll be the first to say it's hard. But here's my point. And I'll stop here, Mark, because I want to pass it to the preacher. Let you do your thing. But I want to make sure we understand that within any team dynamic, with any family dynamic, within any group dynamic, accountability is not just valuable, it's necessary if we will continue to move in the right direction. And Paul says, you know what? I don't care how you feel about me in this certain situation, this circumstance. I know that you guys are y'all are kind of presenting a bad example of what the gospel is. And I'm going to, since you're doing it in front of everybody, I'm going to confront you in front of everybody so everybody knows that this is not the right way for this to go. And you know, of course, Peter got back on track, and I'm sure he appreciated Paul's confrontation. But my point is this: Paul was a friend who loved like that. What you got for me, Martin?
Well, the goal is confrontation is tough. And anybody that tells you it isn't, you know, they're not being truthful. But the question you have to ask yourself is, what's the goal of the confrontation? Is the goal of the confrontation to help the person or to embarrass the person? So, or to cover yourself. And if your goal is to help the other person and you withhold that, then how much do you really care about that person? And then the way you approach it. So what's the goal? And then what's the approach? Speak the truth in love, not in condemnation, not in hatred, not in anger, but with a goal in mind to improve the other person and with love underlying those words. Is it better to confront somebody with the truth that helps them, or to, air quotes, love them and let them keep doing something that's wrong? And that's what people need to understand is,
that's good.
What's the goal of the confrontation and what's your approach in the confrontation? You know, and as we know, man, what would Peter have become had he not been confronted? We don't know.
That's it.
We don't know. So you may need to confront some people in order to improve their trajectory in their walk, their profession, their career, etc. We can talk more about that next week, but tell them where they can find you, Scotty.
Absolutely. You can go to www.blueprinttuscaloosa.com. You can send me a message there. It comes straight to my email.
All right. Hey, that's Scotty Hollins. I'm Martin Houston. Xavier Houston with us earlier. Justin Jones pushing all the right buttons. And hey, listen, I'll let you know Justin's going to only be with us a couple more days, but it's good things for him ahead. Remember this: trust in the Lord always. Lean not your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. Roll Tide out to everybody, and we'll catch you on tomorrow.
Thank you for listening to the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.